Senator Sullivan, we're delighted you're here, and we reached a consensus to close Fort Greely.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to be here, and I was actually watching the first panel. So I'm sorry I didn't get down here in time, but I actually do have a comment or two. I agree with Senator Fisher on that. The one witness who was making the argument that somehow the China-Russia nuclear modernization program was driven in part by the GBIs at Fort Greely, I think, no offense to our esteemed witnesses, was one of the more ridiculous arguments I've heard in quite a while. But in Admiral Hill, can you just mention, it's not just North Korea that we're looking at with regard to our missile defense, it's other rogue nations. We have the capability, given our location, with regard to rogue nations like Iran, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I say rogue nations, I mean North Korea, I mean Iran.
Right.
And so NGI and the GBI fleet today was geared to protect us against North Korean and Iranian.
Correct. And I also watched the chairman's discussion of deterrence. And I think it's questionable whether Kim Jong-un is a rational actor. I definitely think it's questionable whether the Ayatollahs are rational actors. And I think it's the responsibility of this Congress to make sure we don't place that bet on deterrence. The whole idea is if either of them want to go out in a blaze of glory, we shoot down all their missiles and then we destroy their countries. But we don't get destroyed first. Isn't that the whole point of our missile defense?
And I'll defer to policy.
We don't take the punch. We deliver the punch, we parry the punch, and then we deliver the punch.
Right. There's been long consistency that we have missile defense against a limited attack.
Correct.
Against the homeland, but you know, as
We shouldn't take the risk, though, that Kim Jong-un and the Ayatollahs are rational actors and would be deterred by deterrence.
we do, again, correct. If
Right.
they were to launch a limited attack against the United States, that is the mission of missile defense, and we strongly support continuing.
Let me ask
that
another question, and this is, so the history, unfortunately, of missile defense, and I don't want to be too partisan here, but typically Republican administrations have supported it, Democratic administrations haven't. We've made a good breakthrough in this committee. 2017, my bill, the Advancing America's Missile Defense Act, had 20 Republican co-sponsors, 10 Democrat co-sponsors. So missile defense has become bipartisan, which is really, really important to make it sustainable. But I will tell you, I'm a little bit worried. In Admiral Hill, here's why I'm worried. A, there's some senators who are now starting to ask the question, hey, do we need it at all? That's their prerogative, but I think that's indicative of kind of trying to go back, hey, now that the other party's in charge, we're going to get rid of it. I'm also very concerned about the president's budget, which reflects a 15% cut in the MDA's budget, notably 50-plus programs that the MDA administers, over 70% are expected to realize a cut, including the ground-based mid-course defense program. So, Admiral Hill, do you have concerns that the requested level of funding will result in reduced readiness and reliability to defend our nation?
Senator, thanks. Great question. First, I will agree with you that missile defense should always be a bipartisan issue.
Yeah, and we've made good strides in that
Yes,
regard.
sir. You know, for me and my team, I always call them the stellar team, and we have a noble mission. Our mission is plain and simple: protect the American people, protect our forward deployed forces and our allies and friends. So straight on that.
To the budget.
Yes, sir. So over to the budget. You know, like all, and we talked about this before you arrived, sir, is, you know, there's a top line reduction. And so we had to prioritize. And I think we did it right. So when you see our unfunded priority list, where we had to take our risk was in production. So you'll see at the top of that list the need to procure more interceptors, because that's where I had to take risk in order to not see the fall off of availability, reliability of the current GBI fleet. In fact, we make sure that program is rock solid and moving forward with the service life extension.
But you'd prefer not to have a 15% cut?
I always prefer to be able to have a full balance of science, technology, development, testing, and sustainment support to the services. Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can I ask one final question? I know I'm running out of time, and it's one that I'm going to depart a little bit from the primary purpose of today's engagement. It won't surprise you. General Van Herk, as the advocate for the Arctic in terms of the military's capability, you may have seen the Secretary of Defense and the DepSec in their confirmation hearings said that they were going to fully resource the different service strategies, Arctic strategies. I remain concerned that those strategies are not being effectively implemented by the Army, Navy, and Air Force. How do you see the services implementing their respective Arctic strategies as part of this budget submission, given your overall role as the Arctic military advocate as a NORTHCOM commander?
Senator, I think when I look at the FY22 budget, I see a inching along in all of the service. I'm encouraged they all have strategies now, and the department has a strategy, and my strategy heavily relies on the Arctic. But we didn't move the ball very far down the field this year in the budget with regards to resourcing the Arctic.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.